Master, you're the master heckler?
It's an invite. It's an open invite.
It is. It is an open invite. It's always. There will be a test at the end of this.
Is it open note?
Yeah, it's open note. You mic'd up good?
Yep.
Okay.
They'll line me up next.
Let's see.
I think it's where we go.
I think it's 11 o'clock. Yeah, we might as well get going. Okay. Here, why don't you come up? Yeah, you got to stand up here. Here, I am going to do this, though, so that I can kind of see. Okay. All right. First off, how are you guys enjoying the show? This is fantastic. I tell you, who here has been to more than just this VMworld or Explorer? So more than one, more than 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Tony, of course, it's Tony. No. Okay, so we don't have a whole lot of time here, so let's go ahead and get going. Thank you so much. This is a little session about community. We're going to talk, I'll go back 1 second, a little bit about finding your people, right? Finding your people in your community, finding your peeps. Who here knows what a peep is? I mean, I might actually, so some of the international folks, peeps are these Easter candies that are like marshmallow and they're colored either pink or yellow, right? So there are no peeps that you can eat at this session. Oh man, I just opened myself up to something that you guys probably are gonna hit. Anyway, so first off, tech circles. Everybody knows what a tech circle is, right? So your tech circle, in a way, is like an island. It's people that you surround yourself with. Which type of island is going to help your career more? Is it the one on the left, where you're just by yourself, you're doing everything by yourself, you're troubleshooting, and just not opening yourself up to others and learning from others? Or is it more like the image on the left-hand side there, or your right? Anybody know what city that is? It's in Singapore. Okay, so it's the biggest urban island that I could think of, honestly. All right, so
it's definitely the beach. It's definitely the beach.
The beach for you?
Yeah. I'm all. Let's all go. Yeah, well, I'll have mine. You have yours, and
as long as everyone here, so 5,000 people are on the beach right now.
I want the beach.
No, probably not. You know, honestly, I don't even know if I could plug in an L630 anywhere on that. So, you know, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of data centers on the right, not a lot on the left. So that's the only reason I don't want the left one. Okay, so embrace communities. The possibilities are endless. So we're going to talk a little bit about 4 communities here. Hopefully you guys are familiar with them all. VMTN, Code, vExpert, and vMUG, right? Anybody not know one of those communities? Or are we all familiar with the 4? Perfect. Okay, so what? Yeah, go ahead. Got to stop for Richard. All right, so now I'm going to introduce to you Eric Nielsen. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Matt Heldstab. I am a systems engineer for the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities, and I'm also a vMUG leader in Minneapolis and the current global vice president of the VMware User Group. And Eric, I'll let you introduce yourself and follow along on the next slide.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I've been doing community probably for my whole career. I started with BBSs, right? So remember BBSs, modems, and what speed modem did I start with? Yeah, well, I started with a Commodore 32, which had like a 300 baud modem. But then I upgraded to the Commodore 64 by going to Kmart, taking out the motherboard and switching and giving it back, getting my refund and having a 64 motherboard in mine now, right? Ooh, yeah, I'm a bad person. But then I started BBSs, right? And BBSs were fun because it was 1 upload and 10 downloads, right? And I love that. And that started me writing software because I had to write something to be able to upload it so I could get another 10 free games or whatever it is. And community to me is that way. It's about sharing. It's the 1 upload and 10 downloads. It's been that way ever since, right? And we're in a technology field now where we're really uploading our experiences and what we do in the data center, how we run it, what we learn. And by uploading that to other community members, you know, they can download 10 from everybody else. And if you look at the stats on our community pages, that's actually what it is. There's one contributor for 10 people consuming that. And that's community. Now, when you're talking about building communities, the vExpert program is about rewarding and encouraging people, right? Because you have to scale out. Remember, we're a 5 million group of practitioners, right? Most of the people that are in VMUG, VMUG leadership, vExperts are at the top triangle. They're the ones that are the 10% that are producing, right? And so we want to reward those 10%. And so we actually build a reward program for those 10% and encourage them and drive traffic to them and allow them to make money and establish their careers as influencers. And that's what a vExpert program really does. And it's a program that helps us build blueprints for people to be leaders, right? You learn how to write a book, author a book. You're with other people that author books, how to blog, how to meet others who blog, as well as how to run a VMUG chapter, right? It's about getting those top tier in the triangle together to teach each other how to be that top percent of leaders, right? In those top 10%. And then we built a program around it, and the common bond is success in sharing your knowledge. And we won't actually judge how good your knowledge is. When I used to write the little code and upload it to BBS, they would never judge me on how good my little thing was. The system just said, oh, he uploaded another one. I wrote some pretty bad code just to get my uploads in. And that's true with vExperts. And people criticize me because they go, oh, it's a vExpert. You have to be a vExpert. I'm like, no, we're just rewarding you because you're one of the 10 that are actually creating the content for a community. Because a community will gather together, but if you don't have the 10% putting in the grease, you won't have a community for very long, right? So that's what vExperts are about. And that's kind of my lesson as a masterclass on building community, is identifying the 10% and getting them to publish and rewarding them for it. You know, we do nice things. We give you free licenses. We give you a directory so people can find each other. And if you go to vexpert.vmware.com, the directory is open. We let vendors get that directory and recruit other vExperts. And you go, why are you doing that? And I'm like, because those are the 10% that are producing something. And they produce. You want to use them? That's great. I'm going to use them. I want them to be considered, you know, valuable to anyone that wants to use them. And then we do some recognitions and awards and licenses and so forth. So that's kind of what we do there. And then community, the other thing that community is about is lifelong friendships, right? We're all going to leave each other's companies. I remember Carl Eschenborough. I don't know if you guys remember Carl. He got up one time and he brought me to tears because in a VMware, we were at a sales conference, and he goes, all of you are going to leave VMware one day. Every single one of you. And I'm like, no. You know, I'm like, no, we're all going to leave the company we're with, right? We're going to grow old. We're going to retire. We're going to switch companies. But the community is friendships that you make will last a lifetime. And that's really about it. It's about finding the next opportunity and staying on top of the technology curve. So those are all benefits we do. Code, very much the same. Developer topics instead of, you know, IT knowledge. It's like, hey, can you code? Oddly enough, this community is shifting because ChatGPT, everybody can code now, right? Like, if I had a BBS now, I'd be like, oh, here's another upload. ChatGPT, write me something that does that. There it is, perfect code. But it gets coders together. It gets people that want to automate. They collaborate. It enables the SDDC. And it bridges the gap between IT practitioners and engineers. And so whenever you're building a community, you have to have a value proposition. You have to identify what is that one thing that people are going to upload, right? You know, 10 people are going to consume it. And then you also have to identify a cadence. How often do you expect people to upload that one thing, right? Because if they only upload one thing every 5 years, your community is not going to be very interesting. So I always tell people that, like, you have to have that value of what you're going to share, and you have to have a cadence. Right, so the vExpert rewards go every year. Actually, we do an off-cycle one in the summer to get people to do it for Explore, but we have a cadence. And if you don't do it on that cadence, then you're not meeting our objective of getting community people to upload and share that content with one another. And so we've built that. You know, we try to untangle the mystery of engineering. That's always a good thing to have. We try to move people in their career path. And the code community expands your brain without needing to go to another party and drink another beer, right? We did a hackathon last night, right? There were like 50 people there. We had a great time. We had beer, but nobody drank it, right? We were all learning from each other, writing code projects, using ChatGPT to write code. And that's the kind of thing that we did as a value prop, is teaching people to share their experiences on automating the data center. So exactly the same thing, and I'm sure you'll talk about the things that you share in VMUG. VMTN, how many of you guys use VMTN in the past? It's our forms platform. That has been absorbed by Broadcom. So now if you want to go to VMTN, you have to go to community.broadcom.com, and they have a community drop-down, and we have VCF community. So VMTN is no longer a thing, and what we do have is VCF as the main community. We also have the code community there, so community.broadcom.com is now the place where people can come, and again, it's answering questions, right? So you answer one question. If I look at the stats, exactly the same thing. 1 out of 10 visitors actually will post something, and everybody else are reading the answers, consumption. So pretty much that applies across the board to healthy communities, is the fact that you're encouraging sharing across the board from your members. And that's what I got, Matt, and happy to take questions afterwards.
Yeah, no problem at all. So the website, right, that Eric just mentioned, who knows it? What's the name of it? Community. There you go. McLaren shirt, just for you. Awesome. Okay, so first, a little bit about me. I am with the Minnesota State Colleges and Universities system. So we have 54 campuses and about 300,000 students in the state of Minnesota. We're the third largest system of 2- and 4-year schools in the country. And so I was a simple desktop engineer back in the day, right? Anybody know Novell ZenWorks? Maybe a little bit of NetWare, right? I mean, I was all over that. Technologies, yeah, well, you know, we were all there at one point. This is 2006, so, you know, anyway, I had a CTO that came to me and said, have you ever heard of this VMware thing, right? I said, no, I had not. I was just a desktop engineer. You know, admin studio, deploying apps to desktops, I was all over it. VMware, no idea. So he said, how about we start virtualizing? We migrated our physical NetWare to SUSE Linux Enterprise Desktop on ESX3. And that was our first project. And I loved it. It was fantastic. But you know what? It was a ton of work, and it was like drinking from a fire hose for somebody that was just a desktop engineer, right? So I needed to figure out how to get more information. They sent me to that ICM class that everybody took, right? And more fire hose. I saw my first vMotion. Who here knows where they were when they saw their first vMotion, right? I mean, it is one of those things you just don't forget. And it's like amazing, right? So anyway, I also needed to join a community, right? So VMUG, we had a VMware User Group led by VCDX number 34, Jason Bakke in Minneapolis. And when I went there, I was stunned. There were like 120 people, just rabid learners just like me. Everybody was pretty much brand new to it, except for Jason, who was pretty much a god in the virtual infrastructure. So he would do things like configuration maximum trivia. Anybody that's taken a VCP understands what configuration maximums are, right? So he might say something like, how many NICs can be in a VM, right? Who knows the answer? How many NICs can you attach to a VM? Anybody? Anybody? Just throw out numbers.
1024.
Higher?
1024, 8-bit? 8-bit number?
Come on, I've got a prize in my back pocket. Lower. Higher.
8.
Higher.
16.
Lower.
Whoa.
There you go. You win some Netherlands socks. All right, that's the largest VMUG in the world, the Netherlands VMUG. So thank Johan van Amersfoort for that. So he's over in Virtually Speaking podcast. Anyway, so moving right along. To this point, my experience in networking was small and isolated, like that desert island in the ocean, right? I needed to expand my network. IT folks are often very introverted. Some of these folks you might recognize. Anybody know this guy? Roy from the IT crowd, right? I'm more of a Moss guy, honestly. So he's a little more my style. Before Jimmy Fallon had The Tonight Show, he was on Saturday Night Live, and he was Nick Burns, your computer guy, right? So, we kind of get a bad rap, but it's not all that out of the ordinary. Mr. Robot fans out there, unbelievable, right? Okay, so after I started attending VMUGs, you got to kind of get a feel for it. You got to get to know people and start practicing peer-to-peer conversations. So you start talking to folks, so what are you guys doing ESX3 or whatever it is? How are you guys deploying? What kind of storage do you have? What kind of networking do you have? What kind of compute do you have? And then you start making friends, and that network begins to grow a little bit closer to that island in Singapore. But this is just a small group for now. But that community grows, as you see, right? I know people from all over the world, several of you, just because of this community. It's so powerful. Blogging is another way that you can continue to expand your knowledge. One of the things that I started doing is self-documentation blogging. So who here, well, first of all, who here blogs? Any bloggers in the audience? We got a few bloggers. It is a crazy time when you find the answer to a question you had on your own blog. It is so cool when that happens. But anyway, also, you don't know who needs that information. So I had to set up Red Hat virtual data center licensing in our data center, right? And the documentation was horrible. I figured it out, and I blogged it. And then I think it was maybe a year later, Kyle Ruddy, some of you guys might know who Kyle Ruddy is, right? He texts me, and he says, I'm at a customer site in Indianapolis, and he told me that your blog is the Bible to virtual data center licensing. I had absolutely no idea. I look at my numbers on Webalizer. I was getting 200 hits a day on that post. No idea. So you absolutely don't know what blogging will do for your career. Presenting, right? That's kind of the next step. So presenting on the content you know. As Eric said, your willingness to share doesn't have to be anything complicated. You're going to see Duncan and Frank and everybody talk super deep. You don't have to even go anywhere near that depth. You're going to find people will be able to use the content you present on that is simple. It's just maybe directed to a single thing, and maybe it's something nobody's thought of before, and you just don't know until you do it. And reach out to your local VMUG group, and they will absolutely help you. And then if it becomes even more popular, we might actually send you to user conferences around the country, or they sent me to the Netherlands. So it's a fantastic opportunity, and I highly recommend going that way. Leadership. After I saw the power of the community, I decided I wanted to start my own user group. So in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, I started one, and the Minneapolis folks said, hey, why don't you come to Minneapolis too? After that, I joined a bunch of different committees. I joined the board, and now I'm vice president over the... 2. I just ran... No, I did not do 5 VMUGs. No, I did. I did 2. I recruited a lot. Yeah, I probably recruited 25 or 30 leaders. So, but it's all a part of the community. All right. So the community is amazingly powerful. As you see in these pictures here, I just have a bunch of pictures from the last 5 to 10 years about folks. Several of you in the audience are probably in some of these pictures. And I've gotten more pictures that I didn't have a chance to add that I've probably taken over the last few days. Joining the community, putting yourself out there will get you plugged in ways that you can't even imagine. Any questions, anybody? For either of us? Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. If you have any questions that you want to ask on the side, we'll be around. So, enjoy the rest of your show.